Hello and welcome. So in this video, we're going to be looking at ADK integrations for observability. And particularly, we're going to be looking at AgentOps. ADK by default, one of the good or beneficial things that they've done is to integrate OpenTelemetry. So that way we get those login and tracing out of the box by default. But if you want to extend the default functionality that ADK provides, then you need integrations. And if you go to the ADK tools and integrations page here, you can see that they support multiple providers or vendors. And we've seen CloudTrace, how you can instrument CloudTrace, but if you need something more advanced, then you need to go a step further. And that's what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to be instrumenting AgentOps for our multi-agent application. So let's get to it. First of all, what is AgentOps? Now, for the sake of this video, AgentOps is an observability platform for ADK. So basically, it extends or wraps the core OpenTelemetry instrumentation for Tracer that ADK has by default. And it extends that with its own implementation such that it's able to collect all of those traces and forward them to the AgentOps platform. So in order to proceed with this video, just as a prerequisite, you're going to need to set up an account on AgentOps if you haven't already. It's very straightforward. You just need to go to the AgentOps website, which is AgentOps AI. Now in this case, I already have an account set up, just a dummy account. It comes with a free plan, and by default, the free plan can ingest up to 5K events. So it should be very good for testing. So make sure you set up a free account, grab your API key because you're going to need your API key for this. If you've set up your free AgentOps account and you have an API key, the next thing you want to do is to go ahead and set up your API key in your agent environment variable. In this case, make sure you set the AgentOps API key to your API key. Once that's done, you want to install the AgentOps SDK. And how you do that, in our case, since we're using UV, what you need to do is just make sure you're in the right directory. In our case, that's going to be WealthPilot. And once you're in there, you just need to run UV add AgentOps. And that should install AgentOps for you. And if you go to the PyProject.ml file, you see we now have an AgentOps entry in there. Okay, so now I'm just going to run UV sync, make sure everything is okay. And then now that we have that, the next thing you want to do is go to your agent.py file. AgentOps kind of boasts about being very simple to instrument, and I see why, because instrumenting AgentOps is very, very straightforward. And all you need to do to instrument AgentOps is just 2 lines of code. So over here in our agent.py file, since we're going to be testing this from ADK Web, but if you're going to be running this from a custom runner, you also need to do the same in your custom runner. In that case, we're going to test it from our ADK Web. So here in my agent.py file, which is what gets run, I'm going to add 2 lines of code. And the first is going to be an import for AgentOps, which we just installed. And the second is going to be AgentOps.init. Just make sure you add them at the top before anything else, so it's fully aware of all the agents in your project and can wrap the ADK tracer as it needs to. So I'm just going to add a comment here. I'll say enable AgentOps. Now with these 2 lines configured, the next thing we want to do is to just save this file. So Command S. And with that set up, we should be ready to run our ADK agents with AgentOps. Over here in my terminal, I'm just going to clear this, and then I'm going to run UV run project and start ADK Web again. Now this time around, we're going to go back to our web UI again. This time I'm going to load localhost 8000 again. Next, we're going to select our WealthPilot application and let's query it. Analyze APL stock for 50K investment over 5 years. Moderate risk tolerance. Now let's see what's happening. So we can already begin to see some logs here from AgentOps. The first you can see it's patching the ADK tracer, and once that's done, this is ADK instrumentation enabled, and we do get a session replay link here. So we can actually go to that link. So I'm just going to copy that. Actually, let's wait for the entire workflow to complete just so we can see the full trace of everything that happened, so we don't see partial tracing. But we get a session replay URL here, which we should be able to use to preview the tracing data. All right, so stock analysis is completed. So in this case, we should be able to go take a look at our session replay URL from AgentOps. So I'm going to go over to my browser here and just paste in the URL, and let's see what that gives us. Okay, right out of the box, we can see we have a much nicer UI here. At the very top, you can see the different agents that our application uses. So you have our Gemini 2.5 Flash and 2.5 Pro models. We can see a duration for the entire call And we can see a total cost, but this time it's showing empty. So for some reason, it doesn't collate the total cost yet. And we do have some breakdown here for the agent, LLM, tool, and workflow. We can see our root span here. We know this is a root span because we can see the WealthPilot. And if I click on that, we can see our agent instructions showing here to the right. We can also see the ADK appended transfer to agent instructions here as well, which is pretty nice. This is actually nicely formatted using Prettify, and we do see a raw JSON here as well. This looks useful so far. And we can see our pipeline, which is called. Likewise, we do see some information here about the call and the hierarchy or the order in which the different agents are called. And I can look at stock analyst, I can look at portfolio advisor, I can look at report generator, which is very nice. For some reason, the stock analyst seems to have taken a lot of time for this analysis. So if we want to optimize, it's an obvious place we want to look at optimizing. But one thing I like out of the box is the nice color separation that AgentOps gives us, because you can easily just see that this is LLM, this is a tool call, and this is a workflow. So this looks really nice. And we can see tool calls as well. Just like we expected, we can click on them and see the different parameters that are passed around. And we can see our fetch stock price here was failing to call the API, which sort of explains, I guess, why we have the very long duration for that tool call here. All right, so what else do we have here? We have an agent tab here as well that provides us information about our agents. We can see the different components of our multi-agent system, the model description and instructions, and we have terminal logs. Now, obviously, we're on a free plan, so we don't really see a lot of logs here. And we have multiple views here as well, trace tree view. Okay. This shows us the full timing data directly here, and we can switch to graph view as well and get a nice graph view here. This looks nice and much better than what we're used to for the Google ADK Web interface. Now, something else AgentOps seems to give you out of the box is you have this nice analytics dashboard, which is supposed to show you information at a single pane of glass view of how your agent is doing, the span states, field spans, and trace cost distribution, spans per trace, and trace duration distribution. So this basically provides us a much more valuable observability platform for our agent compared to what we get with ADK out of the box. You can't actually deploy ADK Web to production. I wouldn't recommend you do that. This definitely gives us much more better insights, and we do have long-term storage for our trace data. So over time, we can sort of see how our agent is actually doing, which is much more useful if you're going to be tracking or running a production agent. So that's it for this video. Just basically want to show how you can plug in one integration with AgentOps being the platform of choice. But if you want to plug in other observability platforms, ADK supports multiple other options, as we can see here. Now, obviously, all of these are mostly extensions of what ADK provides out of the box. So that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.